We're the JJ boys on the microphone stand, and we're kicking it live with a Faygo in our hand, Master T's on the table, not working in the stable, and on his Adidas jacket is the Faygo label. This part of the rhyme is for Jagged Joe. When I'm on the mic, I steal the show. All my girly friends chasing me down the hall. I don't smoke dope or drink alcohol. This part of the rhyme is for Kango Joe, known to the crew as the leader of the show. Kango on his head, Adidas on his feet, gold around his neck so that he looks like Mr. T. This last part is for Master J. He rocks on the mic and he sleeps all day. He's always drinking Faygo, and that's a fact. And if you've got beef, better change your act.
Check it out. What will you be?
Welcome to 2017, the exclusive prequels, exclusive to the 2-disc set of 2017. I want to send a huge thank you to anybody who supported and bought the physical copies of 2017. I had a bunch of ninjas hitting me up saying they wanted physical copies of it. Tried to do the best that I could to make sure it was something cool. I think the posters really set it over the top for something to actually be something nice that people can buy and have, and actually have a physical copy of it instead of just being able to enjoy it download version whenever you can't really actually hold the physical copy in your hand. I'm a collector of audio. I always like buying the actual CDs much more than just downloading it myself, so definitely thought it was fresh, ideal, so try to do the best I can with this. And then when I was trying to figure out some things to do with the actual press up to make it a little bit fresher, I decided, well, it didn't start until the 1997 era whenever Shockumentary came out. Whenever I picked up the 2017 series, that's when it started from. So why not go back and relive some of the vintage days of ICP and bring the juggalos that are listening all the way up from Carnival of Carnage to Shockumentary, where it picked up in the original 2017 documentary series, which I want to thank Faygoluvers, Scotty D, and Roscoe for putting that out as well. But what we'll do right now is get in to the actual thing that pretty much set up this whole Juggalo world. It was the actual dream that Violent J had that laid out the Dark Carnival.
Just the ideas and the possibilities were rolling, steamrolling through my mind. I could feel it in my legs, the anxiety and the excitement and the happiness. Insane Clown Posse will paint our faces. Everybody loved that clown on the cover of Dog Beats. And I'm not gonna lie, Isham had an EP out called Homie Don't Play, and on the cover he was in clown paint hanging out of an old Impala. And when I first saw that tape, I thought, does this guy really wear clown paint like that when he raps? I asked the guy at the counter and he was like, no, that's just for the cover of Homie Don't Play. But that idea, rapping in clown paint, stuck with me then. And then months and months, maybe years later, in Alex's basement, when we came up with the name Insane Clown Posse and the idea of painting our faces as clowns, it was like busting a fucking hour-long nut all over fucking Shakira's hips as she's belly dancing. It's hard to explain, but I felt as if there was something else there with me. It was like as if there might have been a cop car outside coming to pick me up and take me to jail. Or a posse of my enemies might have been out there circling my house. I felt a little fear. I felt like trouble was riding up on me, but it wasn't. I didn't have any reason to feel like I couldn't relax, but I couldn't relax at all. This very much might have been my very first panic attack. I was probably 19 or 18 when this happened. I listened as Karen breathed in and out. I stared intently through the open bedroom door out into the dark hallway that led into my living room. I almost expected to see something because that strange feeling seemed to be coming from there. Suddenly a dark shadow walked into view, very much like when me and Rob saw the figure of God walking up the steps when Mark Walensky was spending the night. But this was different. I was so scared, I couldn't hardly breathe or move. And I knew what it was right away. It was the clown from my dreams. Even though I couldn't make out any of its features, its outline, down to its jester hat, was exactly the same. getting chills in the back of my neck. My fucking teeth are chilling. Its form was as if it was made of some kind of jet black substance, like oil, in the dark. I wanted to scream and jump up out of my apartment window. If I only could have moved, I probably would have done just that. This was a panic attack, but I was watching this clown. I can still remember exactly how I felt back then, as if it were happening to me right now as I'm talking this. I'm telling you, I am not sure what happened next, but I think I must have passed out. Just like when you have a panic attack, afterward, you just kind of get extremely tired. It's like your fucking melatonin kicks in or something. And that's what happened after I saw this figure of the clown standing in the hallway. I just remember I was out right after that. The moment is still lost to me. The next thing I realized in my mind, I was at a carnival of some kind, but not really. But I couldn't hear or feel anything. This carnival was massive, and everything was way larger than life. There were the roller coaster tracks that went so high they disappeared into the clouds. There was a house of mirrors that must have been 20 stories fucking tall. This carnival was completely surrounding me on all sides, and it was twisted and strange as fuck. This dream was a fucking trip. It was like I fucking smoked PCP or something. But I ain't smoked shit back then. And I've never smoked PCP, so I don't really know what that's like. But I imagine this was like it, because I was fucking straight having a crazy ass dream inspired by the clown conversation and the clown thoughts we've had and the insane clown posse christening and the clown that had been in my dreams. Now I'm having this dream that I'm at this crazy ass carnival, and standing not 10 feet away from me was the clown who I had seen many times in my dreams. But this time he looked too real, as if he sat staring back at me. This was tripping me out. This is tripping me out right now. He had white and black clown makeup on in a strange pattern. And he wore a blue and pink jester's hat and a clown suit with big clown shoes and white gloves. He was the shit, no doubt, but he was a typical wicked clown. He held in his left hand a deck of giant playing cards. Each one was a Joker's card, like you might see in a normal deck of cards. You know, the Joker's card. He had a deck of them in his hand, and he began dropping them one at a time to the ground while staring right at me. It was the craziest fucking dream I ever had. It was like I was half awake, but I wasn't. I was out. But like the whole thoughts of the insane clown posse thing and the possibilities were still with me. I was still having them, yet I was dreaming. It must have been a panic attack that passed me out, and I was half asleep seeing this and thinking about it. I couldn't control anything, but it was happening right before my eyes like it was happening in real life. And as he did this, as he dropped these cards one at a time, I felt a dread that began to overcome me. As each card dropped, the feeling became worse for me. The horror intensified once I noticed he was almost out of cards to drop. What happens when he's all out of cards, I thought? He was talking to me, but I couldn't hear one word he was saying. Just like before, only this time it was way more vivid. He was talking to me. He was moving his fucking mouth, but I couldn't hear shit. I could tell he was saying something very fucking crazy. I could feel it in his words. I could feel it more than I could hear him. Suddenly, just before he dropped the last card, I found myself shooting upwards, high above everything. I was flying straight up, looking down at this massive carnival. As I flew up higher and higher, I was just suddenly rising, up and up and up. So high I could see the carnival was headed to a town. I was suddenly fucking, on top of the Renaissance Center high, looking down, and I could see the carnival was moving toward like a city. Then suddenly, all I could see faded. It got blurry, and then everything went black. Everything was pitch black.
And there you hear the dream that inspired the entire Dark Carnival. Violent J lays it out even more detailed in the Behind the Paint book, the audio book. If you don't have that, if you haven't heard it yet, definitely pick that up. It's like 35 hours of stories, just like you just heard right there, where he was talking about how he was inspired by that dream, that what basically became the Insane Clown Posse. Everybody knows the story. They started out as the Inner City Posse, released Dog Beats, also the D-Lyrical and Intelligence and Violence also released that album, which Faygoluvers just caught up with D-Lyrical some 30 years later after recording that Intelligence and Violence. Seems like a hella cool dude. If you want to check out that interview with D-Lyrical, definitely hit up Faygoluvers or their YouTube account. Just search Faygoluvers and it'll come up. But those classics from back in the day kind of left them to where they didn't feel like they were reaching the audience they were wanting to reach. They didn't feel like people were feeling them the way they expected them to just by hearing their music. I guess they probably thought that people were kind of sleeping on them. So what they did is figured out, hey, this is Detroit. We're known for the wicked shit. We're known for craziness. Alice Cooper's huge in Detroit. He's not even from Detroit. People think he's from Detroit. Kiss is huge. Detroit, Rock City, of course. Detroit loves them some wicked shit, some crazy shit. So we got to flip the game a little bit. We can't just be out here being normal rappers, rapping like normal. We got to figure out something to do, some kind of gimmick. And it's just like pro wrestling. It always comes back, it seems like, to pro wrestling and Insane Clown Posse. It's just like the gimmicks that those guys use to get their characters over. That's exactly what the Insane Clown Posse gimmick was. And as soon as they started to figure out that they were going to change Inner City Posse into Insane Clown Posse, Violent J started being littered with these dreams. And then one night he just had that super vivid dream that he talked about, and that pretty much laid out the entire run of the Dark Carnival with the 6 Joker's cards. Like he said, once the 6 dropped, he started shooting upward. Pretty much the end will consume us all. The 6 Joker cards were the end will consume us all. That's how all of that began, right there in that very dream. It sounded hella fresh. It sounds like something that needs to be made into a full-length featured movie someday. I've been pushing for that this entire series. But what we'll do now is get into some actual... It's hard to find Carnival of Carnage, Ringmaster, and Riddlebox era stuff to be able to play audio from, because the internet wasn't around in this era, of course. So there's not nearly as many sound clips to pull from or radio appearances, because of course not only was there not internet, nobody but Detroit knew about Insane Clown Posse at this time. Honestly, only 17 people bought Carnival of Carnage the day it came out. So not a lot of people really even cared about Insane Clown Posse at that time, in this time that I'm talking about right here around the Carnival of Carnage era. But what I was able to find was a very rare concert footage, which was from 1992. It actually featured all 3 members of the band, Violent J, Shaggy 2 Dope, and his brother, John Kickjazz.
So I took the head, ran down the hall one naked. And they got a life on the table. Cause I got it going on. And I broke to the female child. Motherfuckers think I'm sick. Yeah, see a bitch take a shit. Fuck that, well I took your ass beat. Cause female shit is loose to me. Climb in the fire escape. How many lives will one motherfucker take? 1 life, 2 life, 3 life, 4. Don't get mad, can I probably take more? 3 lives coming out 8. Fuck this, I'm gonna make that late. Tiny bitch up to a light post. Slap her face till I'm psycho. Beat her down and beat her up. Fucking slut. Some bitch make me wonder. Kick the gut and out my number. Call me fucking nympho. Then I threw up through a window. Broke in a kind of a dream knot. Came back down. I don't know what. Straight up insanity. Damn. If it ain't a family. Hope they come home soon. Cause I'm working the metro.
Sparky! We're home, Sparky! Watch your butt.
Honey, where's Sparky?
In Americans enjoy its creation. Now this ghetto-minded criminals that cross the line into your neighborhood and will soon give you a taste of the hell that they have lived for so long. So pops, it's time to your son get shot. Deal with your own creation.
Well, I picked it, my son's son. Pay my debts while I'm still 3 headlines. Jumped out of skirt cause I couldn't find my locker. Stumbles on my jaw, I got hair like Chewbacca. Might see me stepping out of the street. Found one for a job, cause there's no job looking for me. Then it all went to my head. Next day, 39 motherfuckers dead. Tell the pigs I did it. Place furniture back and beat you in the head with it. And keep your bitch in place. Well, me take a ass hard with a footprint on her face. So I'm hating slow. Shoot him in the face, step back, and into my nuts. Lunch him in the sack. Cause I'm fucking so hard it'll break their back. All the pressure back. say, motherfucker, psychopath.
And there you hear sounds way back from 1992, whenever Insane Clown Posse was in their original formation fully. It was Violent J, Shaggy 2 Dope, and John Kickjazz, Shaggy's brother, all rocking the stage there. You can actually find video footage of that very concert on YouTube. Just search ICP 1992, and it should come up, as that's just some classic shit right there. I love whenever those things pop up on YouTube. It's like finding treasure whenever you're just searching through YouTube, and all of a sudden you're finding some 20-plus-year-old ICP gigs. So whenever those pop up, that's hella fresh. Much props to those ninjas that put those out there for everyone to enjoy. I know they've been under wraps for years. Some of the exclusive ninjas that had access to it were able to enjoy that freshness, but I think it's hella fresh now that every juggalo and any juggalo that wants to be able to see some 1992 ICP shows and see what it was like to be there then can simply do it by typing in 5 letters on YouTube, and you're taken right back to 1992. And speaking of whenever they were with their third member, John Kickjazz, of course, he eventually left the group, and he was replaced by Greezy, who made his appearance on the sideshow from Carnival of Carnage, which was Beverly Kills 50187, which I think is criminally underrated album. It may sneak into the rankings on my actual albums over some actual Joker cards. I love Beverly Kills. It's actually in my CD player right now. It has been for the last couple of days. I never get tired of that album. I think that album's really whenever it all clicked together and really started hearing the classic Insane Clown Posse style. I know Greezy was on it, so it wasn't the actual just Insane Clown Posse that we know today with Shaggy 2 Dope and Violent J. But it did really start to show what we would hear throughout their entire career with the dynamic of Jay rapping, Shags with his voice where he yells along with things and kind of intro songs and does mid breakdowns of songs. I think Beverly Kills 50187, definitely do not sleep on it. If you only are somebody that just checks out the Joker cards, definitely pick up Beverly Kills 50187. But I actually was able to track down some concert footage that Greezy was actually in. It seems like he was only in the band for a month or so, but he made an appearance on Beverly Kills, and he also made a live appearance 1993 at St. Andrews Hall. And there you hear 1993 concert footage, St. Andrews Hall, Violent J, Shaggy 2 Dope, and the infamous Greezy rocking the stage right there. All three of them. No Faygo back in those days on either of these past two concert clips that I've played. They were shooting some silly string on the intro whenever they were playing the Carnival of Carnage intro. Greezy and Shaggy were kind of jumping around shooting some silly string. They had this weird triangle thing in the stage that kind of ran around the entire time. It was definitely not what Insane Clown Posse shows are today, but nonetheless, hella fresh, and you can check that one out as well on YouTube. Just search ICP 1993 and that'll come up for you. They pretty much will get into the ending up the Carnival of Carnage run, as it pretty much, when I think of Carnival of Carnage, I think of what Jay was talking about. It's the carnival coming to town. Whenever he said he shot up and he could see the entire carnival coming to town, I think that's pretty much is what the spirit of Carnival of Carnage is. It's the actual dark carnival coming to your town. I think that the mythology of it is perfectly written. It sets up very well. It's the very first one. It introduces you. And whenever he told that story and behind the paint, it pretty much gave you a visual to see with it as well. And ever since I've heard that, I've just envisioned the Carnival of Carnage being the oncoming dark carnival. And that's pretty much what a first Joker card should be. Pretty much perfectly done by Violent J, Shaggy 2 Dope. And I've gotta speculate that Jump Steady had a lot to do with the mythology of the Dark Carnival, the way that ninja loves board games and role-playing games and things like that. But like I said, it's pretty much going to wrap up the talk of the Carnival of Carnage days. But before I get out of the Carnival of Carnage era, just this past year in 2017, they, of course, did the Carnival of Carnage show to benefit, doing a documentary about the late John Kickjazz Shaggy's brother, the original third member of Insane Clown Posse. They tore that shit up. It was very exclusive. I think there was only 250 tickets or something like that. It was a very small club. It was located right there in Southwest Detroit. It seemed like it was all old school juggalos basking in just the glow of being able to enjoy a day like it was 1992 again in 2017. Faygoluvers did a very nice wrap up of it that I'm going to play right now.
Talk shit about the city with my nuts in the west mouth. Singing like a banjo. Cause we don't don't like that shit where I come from, bro. Now the ICP stand alone. In the Southwest Ghetto Zone. Put 'em up, put 'em up. 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 The cops just don't know what to do. Stop what we want, just when everyone's home. The cops just don't know what to do. The cops just don't know what to do. Stop what we want, just when everyone's home. The cops just don't know what to do. Say the new boy in a BSR, nigga, my rap OG, you won't make it far. I got my 9 in my gut and it's starting to hurt. Where can you get my cat? Where it's kids in a t-shirt. I'm rolling like a true ghetto dog. Beans on the sack, cause I'm moving that crack. I know you're gonna allow what Jake said. When I told you that I sold to your bitch that face, and no, you can't argue with the truth. If I hit you in your mouth, you're gonna spit out a tooth. And I laugh at a motherfucking cop. Sitting with a fat ass in a donut shop. At the party when the ICP shows they face. Building on the head, close all over the place.
Protect them, protect we do.
Then I asked who the fuck would that suck from you? You have to be beating out someone. Shut up, you in the back, you told them not to fuck. And the motherfucking Black Panthers know it. That's why it's cops out that are catching a bullet. I'm running out, running one and the chase. With your face with this gauge in your motherfucking face. Fight, in the Southwest. When we come to the left, jump that check to the inside, been down the road, and I'll drop a few necks, and I'll bring a few more, so what's up? Roll by me in the corner, I'ma hold my nuts up. It's gonna fuck you with that, fall through as soon as shit, let me hit that. Don't behind the tank, ain't even want them faking. I just see some folk that I'm skating, bitches naked. I pass out when it gets dark. They walk up naked at the road park. Gotta go, gotta go before I get the rap. Gotta chop off head, chillin' in my lap. Mr. Shrink, I'm sick. We're a tick, tick, tock, and don't quit. It don't quit, it don't quit. Mr. Shrink, I'm sick. I'm gonna hit it. Then I can hold me, I'm a psycho. So I ain't his place, like I don't know. Take the neck and I got some more. The matter the axe, the matter the phone. It's all man you can talk to. Whatever you need, I'm a stalker. If you're a kid, I'm a taker. But if you're a neck, I'm a breaker. If you're no lady, I'm a mother. Cause bitch, you can't fuck with the trouble.
And there you hear live from the Carnival of Carnage show that took place in 2017, Southwest Detroit. Pretty much one of anybody that actually attended the event, I've heard say that it's one of their top 5 Juggalo events of all time. It seemed like that it was really pulled off flawlessly. I think the only negativity that I heard come from it is somebody tried to jack the classic old school banner from back then that they brought out for the concert. But thankfully, one of the owners of the club seen the ninja doing it, stopped them from doing it, and got the banner back to Psychopathic. So it's a pretty dope story right there. And I think what that's going to do is be a nice way to end the Carnival of Carnage chapter of 20 in 17, the 3 prequel episodes. I'll be back with the Ringmaster.